The crystal chandelier cast fractured light across the polished marble floor of Hang Ang restaurant as Maya Park balanced a tray of champagne flutes. Her reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows showed a composed young woman in a crisp black uniform, but her hands trembled slightly. 3 months. She'd worked here for 3 months, serving Seoul's elite while searching for answers her late mother had taken to the grave. "Excuse me, miss." A sharp voice cut through the ambient classical music. "These glasses have water spots. Are you blind or just incompetent?" Maya turned to face Kang Jin-woo, the restaurant's newly appointed CEO. His designer suit probably cost more than she made in 6 months. At 35, he carried himself with the arrogance of someone who'd never been told no. "My apologies, sir. I'll replace them immediately." Maya's Korean was flawless, but she kept her accent deliberately pronounced. "Let them underestimate her." Jin-woo laughed, turning to his colleagues at the VIP table. "They'll hire anyone these days. Next, they'll be teaching monkeys to pour wine." The words hit like physical blows, but Maya had endured worse. She collected the offending glasses, her face a perfect mask of professional neutrality. As she walked away, she heard one of Jin-woo's associates whisper, "Isn't that a bit harsh?" "Please," Jin-woo scoffed. "These foreigners come here thinking they can just infiltrate our culture. She probably can't even read Hangul. If only he knew." Maya had spent the last year learning everything about Korean corporate culture, language, and most importantly, about the Park family empire. The same Park family that owned this restaurant. The same Park family her father had belonged to before they erased him from existence. In the staff break room, Maya's co-worker Sujin touched her shoulder gently. "You okay?" Jin-woo is always worst on corporate dinner nights. "Too much pressure from the board." "I'm fine." Maya pulled out her phone, staring at the photos she'd discovered in her mother's belongings 6 months ago. A young Korean man held a pregnant black woman, both laughing in front of the Golden Gate Bridge. On the back, faded handwriting, "David and Michelle, 1996. Our forever starts now. David Park Dae-hyun. The eldest son who'd disappeared from all family records after 1996. Maya, tonight's the night, isn't it?" Sujin's voice dropped to a whisper. "The grandmother is coming." Maya's heart hammered. "How do you know?" "Kitchen staff always knows first." Madam Park Soon-jae requested her private dining room. "She never comes to public events anymore, not since her health started failing." Sujin squeezed her hand. "Are you sure about this? The Parks are powerful. If they rejected your father once, then I need to know why." Maya stood, straightening her uniform. "I need to know why my mother worked 3 jobs and died from exhaustion while my father's family sat on a restaurant empire. I need to know why I never met my grandmother, my uncle, anyone." Before we continue, if you're hooked on this story of hidden identity, family secrets, and the courage it takes to claim your truth, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. And hit the like button to show your support for Maya's journey. The main dining hall buzzed with Seoul's elite. Politicians, entertainment executives, and corporate leaders filled the tables, all here for the quarterly investor dinner. Maya moved through the crowd like a ghost, refilling glasses and removing plates while her eyes tracked every entrance. Then she saw her. Madam Park Soon-jae entered through the private entrance, supported by a younger man Maya didn't recognize. The matriarch must have been in her 70s, but she moved with regal dignity. Her hanbok was traditional, deep burgundy silk embroidered with gold thread. Despite her age, her eyes were sharp, scanning the room with the authority of someone who'd built an empire from nothing. Maya's breath caught. This woman was her grandmother. Her Halmianai. The connection hit her with unexpected force. Grandmother. Jinwoo rushed forward, his earlier cruelty replaced with obsequious concern. You shouldn't have come. The doctor said. The doctor says many things. Madam Park's voice carried across the room. I'm not dead yet, Jinwoo. I can still attend my own company's events. The man supporting her was Min Jae, Maya had learned from Sujin. Late 20s, devastatingly handsome, and the company's CFO. He was also Jinwoo's younger half-brother, though from what Maya had gathered, there was no love lost between them. As the family settled into their private section, Maya was assigned to their service. Her heart pounded so hard she was certain they could hear it. Water, please, Min Jae said when she approached. His eyes met hers, and something flickered in his expression. Curiosity recognition. You're new, aren't you? 3 months, sir. Maya poured with steady hands. Your Korean is excellent. This from Madam Park herself. The old woman studied her with unsettling intensity. Where did you learn? My father taught me. When I was young. The truth, or part of it. And where is your father now? Maya's throat tightened. He died. Car accident. I was 2 years old. Something passed across Madam Park's face, gone too quickly to identify. Pain recognition. I'm sorry for your loss. Jinwoo cleared his throat impatiently. Grandmother, we should discuss the quarterly reports. The board is concerned about. Later. Madam Park waved him off, still watching Maya. What's your name, child? This was it. The moment Maya had rehearsed 1,000 times. Maya, ma'am. Maya Park. The silence that followed was deafening. Madam Park's teacup froze halfway to her lips. Min Jae's eyes widened. Jinwoo looked confused, then irritated. Park. Madam Park's voice trembled. That's a common name. Yes, ma'am. Maya pulled out the photograph, her hand shaking now. She placed it on the table. But I think you knew my father. Park Dae-hyun. The photograph landed between them like a grenade. Madam Park stared at it, her face draining of color. Min Jae leaned forward, studying the image with intense focus. Jinwoo snatched it up, his expression darkening. This is ridiculous, Jinwoo snarled. Grandmother, this is clearly a scam. Some foreigner found an old photo and... That's my son. Madam Park's words came out broken. That's my Dae-hyun. The entire private section had gone silent. Other family members Maya didn't recognize leaned in, whispers spreading like wildfire. Impossible, Jinwoo insisted. Dae-hyun died 30 years ago. Everyone knows. We said he was dead. Madam Park's eyes never left the photo. But he wasn't. He ran away to America with her. She looked up at Maya, tears streaming down her weathered face. With your mother. Maya nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Grandmother, you can't seriously believe Jinwoo started. I would know my own son. Madam Park's voice cracked with authority. Look at her, Jinwoo. Look at her eyes. Those are Dae-hyun's eyes. Min Jae had been silent, but now he stood, moving closer to Maya. The birthmark, he said quietly. Grandmother, look at her wrist. Maya froze as Min Jae gently lifted her left hand, exposing the small crescent-shaped birthmark on her inner wrist. It was something she'd never thought twice about. Madam Park gasped. The Park family mark. Every direct descendant has it. She pulled back her own sleeve, revealing an identical mark. My father had it. My son had it. The room erupted. Family members surged forward, some demanding proof, others shouting questions. Jinwoo's face had turned an alarming shade of purple. DNA test, someone called out. We need DNA confirmation before. I'll do whatever tests you want, Maya said, finding her voice. But I'm not here for money. I'm here for answers. I'm here because my mother died without ever telling me why my father's family abandoned him. Why I grew up with nothing while you lived in luxury. Why her voice broke. Why wasn't I enough? Why wasn't my mother enough? The vulnerability in Maya's words seemed to shatter something in the room. Madam Park rose on trembling legs, crossing to where Maya stood. Up close, Maya could see every line of grief etched into her grandmother's face. Child, Madam Park whispered, reaching up to touch Maya's cheek. It wasn't you. It was never you. It was me. My pride, my prejudice, my unforgivable mistakes. Grandmother, please sit, Min-jae urged, but the old woman ignored him. I told Dae-hyun to choose. The family or that woman. The words came out raw. I said if he married her, if he kept that baby, he was no son of mine. I thought. She closed her eyes. I thought he would come back, I thought time would change his mind. Instead, I never saw him again. And then we heard about the accident, and it was too late. You knew he died. Maya's voice hardened. You knew, and you never came looking for me. We tried. This from Min-jae, his expression pained. Grandmother hired investigators, but your mother had disappeared. Changed her name, moved cities. We searched for years. My mother spent those years working herself to death. Maya's control finally shattered. She cleaned offices at night, waitressed during the day, did people's laundry on weekends, all while raising me alone. She died at 45 from a heart attack because she couldn't afford proper health care. And you're telling me you tried? The accusation hung in the air. Madam Park swayed, and Min-jae caught her, easing her into a chair. The old woman looked ancient now, crushed under the weight of her choices. I'm sorry, Madam Park whispered. I'm so sorry. Jinwoo had been watching this exchange with growing alarm. Even if this is true, he said, his voice tight with barely controlled anger, it doesn't matter. Dae-hyun was disowned. He has no claim to the family assets, which means neither does she. Actually, Min-jae said quietly, pulling out his phone. That's not entirely accurate. I've been reviewing the company documents since grandmother mentioned Dae-hyun's name. He was never formally removed from the corporate structure. His shares were placed in trust, pending his return. The color drained from Jinwoo's face. What? 40% of Park Empire Holdings, Min-jae continued, his eyes on his screen. Still registered under Park Dae-hyun's name. As his sole heir. He looked up at Maya. Those shares would transfer to you. The room exploded again. Jinwoo lunged forward, but Min-jae stepped between him and Maya, his body language protective. This is insane. Jinwoo shouted. You can't just let some stranger walk in and claim. She's not a stranger. She's family. Madam Park's voice, though weak, carried absolute authority. And if Dae-hyun's shares are still active, then Jinwoo, you'd better remember that you only hold 30%. Maya would be the largest single shareholder. This revelation clearly shocked even Maya. She'd come seeking answers about her father, not an inheritance. But looking around at the family members' hostile faces, she suddenly understood the target she'd just painted on her back. If you're as shocked as Maya right now about this family's secrets, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a like if you think Maya deserves answers after everything she's been through. And comment below what you think Jinwoo is going to do next, because trust me, this is about to get even more intense. The remainder of the evening passed in a blur. Madam Park insisted Maya join them at the family table, much to Jinwoo's visible fury. The other family members treated her with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Through it all, Min-jae stayed close, his presence a quiet shield against the hostile stares. "You need to be careful," he murmured as he refilled her water glass. "Jinwoo isn't going to accept this easily." "I didn't come here to take anything from anyone," Maya insisted. "Doesn't matter." Min-jae's dark eyes held hers. "You exist. That's threat enough." There was something in his gaze that made Maya's pulse quicken. Despite everything happening, despite the chaos swirling around her, she found herself intensely aware of this man. His careful movements, the way he seemed to anticipate his grandmother's needs, the protective way he'd stepped between her and Jinwoo. "Why are you helping me?" she asked quietly. Min-jae's expression softened. "Because I was 10 when my father died." "Jinwoo's father?" He paused. "Grandmother took me in, raised me alongside Jinwoo even though I was just the bastard son from a mistress. She gave me a chance when she could have left me with nothing. Maybe." He glanced at Madam Park. "Maybe she was trying to make up for what she did to your father. Maybe I remind her of second chances." Before Maya could respond, Jinwoo's voice cut across the table. "Grandmother, you're exhausted. Let me take you home." "No." Madam Park straightened. "Maya, you'll come to the family estate tomorrow. We have much to discuss." "Grandmother," Jinwoo protested. "Enough." The old woman's tone brooked no argument. "I've wasted 30 years on pride and regret. I won't waste another day." She turned to Maya. "Please. Let an old woman try to make amends for the unforgivable." How could Maya refuse? She nodded, and saw something like relief cross her grandmother's face. As the evening wound down, Min-jae slipped her a business card. "My personal number. If you need anything, call me." "And Maya," he hesitated. "Watch your back. Family can be more dangerous than enemies." Maya returned to her tiny apartment near Hongdae, her mind reeling. She'd prepared for rejection, for denial, even for violence. But acceptance, a grandmother's tears and inheritance, none of that had been in her plans. She was studying the business card Min-jae had given her when her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Is this Maya Park?" A woman's voice, cold and professional. "Yes." "Who is this?" "A friend. Someone who thinks you should know the truth before you walk into that viper's nest tomorrow." Maya's grip tightened on the phone. "What truth?" "Your father didn't die in an accident. He was murdered. And the person who ordered it is the same person who welcomed you with open arms tonight." The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone, heart pounding. It could be a lie, a manipulation tactic. But what if it wasn't? What if her father's death hadn't been the tragic accident her mother had always believed? She barely slept that night, torn between the joy of finding her family and the dark suspicion that had been planted. When morning came, she dressed carefully in a simple dress, trying to look respectful but not desperate. The Park family estate was in Hanam-dong, one of Seoul's most exclusive neighborhoods. The taxi driver whistled when she gave the address. The house itself was traditional Korean architecture mixed with modern luxury, surrounded by high walls and security cameras. Min-jae met her at the gate, looking tired but immaculate in a casual suit. "You came. Did you think I wouldn't?" "I wasn't sure. Last night was..." He trailed off. Intense. As they walked toward the main house, Maya made a decision. "Can I ask you something honestly?" "Always." "How did my father really die?" Min-jae stopped walking. "Car accident. Los Angeles, 1998. That's what grandmother told me." "Did anyone investigate?" "Why would they?" But uncertainty flickered across his face. "Maya, what did someone tell you?" Before she could answer, Jinwoo appeared on the veranda. "How touching." The CFO playing bodyguard to the interloper. "Jinwoo," Min-jae warned. "No, it's fine." Jinwoo descended the steps, his smile sharp. "Let's be honest, shall we? You show up with a photo and a sob story. My grandmother, in her grief and guilt, accepts you immediately. Very convenient." "I don't want your money," Maya said evenly. "Everyone wants money." Jinwoo circled her like a predator. "But here's what you need to understand. That 40% it comes with responsibilities. Board meetings, corporate decisions, strategic planning. Things you know nothing about. You think you can just walk in and claim a birthright you'd be eaten alive? Maybe. But it's still mine to claim." Jinwoo's eyes narrowed. "Is it because I've been thinking about something?" "Those shares were held in trust for Dae-hyun's return." "But Dae-hyun is dead. And legally speaking, trusts can be challenged, especially when the beneficiary is conveniently discovered 30 years later." "You wouldn't," Min-jae said sharply. "Watch me." Jinwoo pulled out his phone. "I've already spoken to our lawyers. They're very interested in reviewing the trust documents. Very interested in investigating possible fraud." He looked at Maya. "How well did you know your father, Maya? Any proof he actually claimed you before he died? Any documents with his signature acknowledging paternity?" Maya's stomach dropped. Her mother had been 19, alone, and terrified when she'd given birth. She'd never filed for child support, never legally pursued the Park family. It had all been too painful, too complicated. "That's what I thought." Jinwoo's smile turned triumphant. "No legal documentation means no legal claim. Which means those shares stay right where they are until we decide what to do with them." "That's not how this works," Min-jae argued. "DNA will prove." "DNA proves genetic relationship, not legal inheritance rights." Jinwoo was already walking away. "Talk to the lawyers, little brother. You'll see I'm right." "And Maya?" he glanced back. "You're welcome to stay for breakfast. Enjoy it. It might be the last time you're invited." The morning devolved into chaos. Madame Park, upon hearing Jinwoo's legal challenge, became so distraught that her doctor had to be called. Maya found herself relegated to a sitting room with Min-jae while lawyers swarmed the estate. "I should go," Maya said. "This is tearing your family apart." "You are family." Min-jae paced the room, running his hands through his hair. "And Jinwoo is an ass. There has to be documentation somewhere. Letters, photos, anything your father might have sent." "My mother kept everything in one box. I went through it all." Maya's voice dropped. "Unless..." "Unless what?" "Before she died, my mom said something strange. She said, 'The truth is in San Francisco, baby. If anything happens to me, go to San Francisco.'" Maya looked up. "I thought she was delirious from medication. But what if she meant something specific?" Min-jae stopped pacing. Did your parents live in San Francisco? For a year, right after I was born. Then we moved to LA, and then Mom kept moving us every few years. I always thought she was just restless, but... Maya's mind raced. What if she was hiding? What if someone was looking for us? The same dark suspicion from the anonymous phone call crept back in. Min-jae seemed to sense her thoughts because he sat down beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. Talk to me, he said softly. So she did. She told him about the phone call, the accusation of murder, her growing fear that there was more to her father's story than anyone was admitting. Min-jae listened in silence, his expression growing darker. When she finished, he stood abruptly. Wait here. He returned 20 minutes later with a file folder, glancing over his shoulder nervously. This is from grandmother's private study. The accident report from your father's death. They read through it together. Single car accident, rainy night, vehicle left the road and crashed into a barrier. Park Dae-hyun pronounced dead at the scene. No other vehicles involved. Case closed. Seems straightforward, Min-jae said, but his tone was uncertain. Maya pointed to a detail in the report. Look at this. The accident happened on Highway 1, near San Francisco. But we lived in LA by then. Why would my father be driving near San Francisco alone at night? Maybe he was visiting someone. Or meeting someone. Maya's pulse quickened. What if my mother knew something? What if that's why she kept moving us, why she told me the truth was in San Francisco? Min-jae's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, cursed softly. Jinwoo is calling a family meeting. He's demanding you be excluded, claiming you're a security risk. He's right to be paranoid. Maya stood. Because I'm going to San Francisco. I'm going to find out what really happened to my father. Then I'm coming with you. Maya turned, surprised. What? You heard me. Min-jae's jaw set stubbornly. If there's something suspicious about your father's death, it involves this family. Which means it involves me. Plus, Jinwoo will have people following you the second you leave Seoul. You'll need someone who knows how the Park family operates. You barely know me. I know enough. Something intense flickered in his eyes. I know you came here seeking truth, not money. I know you're brave enough to face a hostile family alone. I know. He stepped closer. I know I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since you put that photograph on the table and changed everything. The air between them felt charged. Maya's breath caught as Min-jae reached up, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. This is crazy, she whispered. Your family hates me. Your brother wants me gone. Your grandmother is. My grandmother spent 30 years regretting her choices. I won't make the same mistake. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Let me help you, Maya. Please. She should say no. This was complicated enough without adding romance to the mix. But looking into Min-jae's eyes, seeing the sincerity there, Maya found herself nodding. Okay. But we leave tonight before Jinwoo can stop us. Min-jae smiled, the expression transforming his serious face. I'll book the flights. They spent the afternoon planning in secret. Min-jae used his connections to arrange everything, 2 first-class tickets to San Francisco departing that evening. Maya returned to her apartment to pack, her mind spinning with possibilities. What would they find in San Francisco? Would it prove her father's death was truly an accident, or would it confirm her darkest suspicions? She was zipping up her suitcase when someone knocked on her door. Cautiously, she checked the peephole. Madam Park Soon-jae stood in the hallway, alone. Maya opened the door in shock. How did you know where you live? Her grandmother smiled sadly. I've known since your second day at the restaurant. I had you investigated. You knew. Maya felt betrayed all over again. You knew who I was, and you still let Jinwoo humiliate me. I needed to be sure. Madam Park entered the small apartment, looking around with open curiosity. Sure of your intentions, your character. Anyone can carry a photograph. I needed to see if you had your father's heart. She turned to face Maya. You do. The same stubborn pride, the same fierce love, the same inability to accept injustice. Why are you here? To tell you the truth before you go searching for it. Madam Park's voice shook. I know you're going to San Francisco. Min-jae may think he's subtle, but I know my grandson. And I know what you'll find there. Maya's heart hammered. What will I find? Evidence. Letters. Proof. Madam Park pulled an envelope from her handbag with trembling hands. Your father didn't trust me, but he trusted someone. A lawyer in San Francisco. Someone who was supposed to keep records safe until you turned 18. I only learned about this recently, when I had my own investigators looking into Dae-hyun's final months. Why didn't you go yourself? Because I'm a coward. Tears streamed down the old woman's face. Because I'm terrified of what those records will reveal. About me. About my family. About what really happened the night your father died. The words hung heavy in the air. Maya took the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a business card for a law firm in San Francisco and a handwritten note in Korean. What does this say? Maya asked. It says, if my daughter comes looking for answers, give her everything. She deserves the truth about who destroyed our family. Madam Park's voice broke. Your father wrote that a week before he died. The implications crashed over Maya like a wave. He knew something was going to happen. I don't know what he knew. But Maya. Her grandmother gripped her hands tightly. Whatever you find, whatever the truth is, please remember that families are complicated. People make terrible choices out of fear, pride, desperation. We fail the people we love in ways we never imagined we could. Are you trying to protect someone? Madam Park's silence was answer enough. If someone in your family killed my father, Maya said, her voice hard, no amount of complication will excuse that. I know. Her grandmother released her hands. I just wanted you to hear it from me first. Whatever you discover, it's worse than you think. And the person responsible. She closed her eyes. The person responsible is someone I love. Before Maya could demand more answers, Madam Park was gone, leaving only the business card in a wake of devastating implications. Maya called Min-jae immediately. We need to talk. Now. They met at a coffee shop near Incheon Airport, hours before their flight. Maya slid the business card across the table and explained her grandmother's visit. Min-jae's face had gone pale. She said someone she loves is responsible. Which means it's family. Maya fought to keep her voice steady. Jinwoo, your father's someone else in the Park dynasty. My father died when I was 10, Min-jae said slowly. But he was alive when your father had his accident. And he and Dae-hyun, they hated each other. Competition for grandmother's favor, for company control. He looked sick. Oh God! What if it was him? What if my father? We don't know anything yet, Maya interrupted, though her own stomach churned. We need facts, not speculation. But the damage was done. The easy connection they'd begun to build now felt tainted by family sins. Min-jae stared at his coffee, the weight of potential guilt crushing the warmth from earlier. "Maybe I shouldn't come," he said finally. "If my father was involved, you shouldn't have to." "Stop." Maya reached across the table, taking his hand. "Your father's sins aren't yours. And I need you, Min-jae. Not just for protection or information. I need..." She struggled to find words. "I need someone who understands what it's like to be an outsider in that family. Someone who knows how complicated blood ties can be." His fingers tightened around hers. "If we do this, if we find proof that someone in my family murdered yours, there's no going back. The Parks will go to war. Jinwoo will use it to destroy us both. Then we'd better be ready." Maya met his eyes. "Are you ready?" For a long moment, Min-jae just looked at her. Then he stood, pulling her to her feet and into his arms. The hug was fierce, desperate, two people clinging to each other in the face of oncoming storms. "I'm ready," he whispered against her hair. The flight to San Francisco was turbulent, both literally and emotionally. They sat side by side in first class, the luxury feeling absurd given the gravity of their mission. Maya tried to sleep but kept seeing her grandmother's face, hearing those words, "The person responsible is someone I love." Somewhere over the Pacific, Min-jae took her hand again. "Tell me about your mother. About growing up." So she did. She told him about Michelle Park, born Michelle Johnson, a scholarship student at UCLA who fell in love with a charismatic Korean exchange student. About how David Park had promised her the world, then lost everything when he chose love over family. About the tiny apartments, the constant moves, her mother's endless work. "She never spoke badly about your family," Maya said. "Even when things were hardest, she'd just say, 'They made their choice, baby. We made ours.' I think she still loved my father so much that she couldn't hate the people who gave him life." "She sounds extraordinary." She was. Maya's throat tightened. She was also exhausted. Broken. At her funeral, her boss from the cleaning company said Mom had worked a double shift the night she collapsed. 63 years old and scrubbing office floors at 3 a.m. because the medical bills from her first heart attack had bankrupted us. She turned to Min-jae, letting him see her anger. "That's what your family's pride cost. A beautiful woman's life." Min-jae had no defense, no platitudes. He just held her hand tighter and let her grief fill the space between them. They landed at SFO as dawn broke over the bay. The lawyer's office didn't open until 9, so they checked into a hotel and tried to rest. But rest was impossible. Maya paced the room, emotions churning, while Min-jae made calls to contacts in Seoul, gathering information about his father's activities in 1998. At 8:30, they were standing outside Fletcher & Associates law firm in the financial district. The building was old San Francisco, all brick and brass, reeking of old money and older secrets. A receptionist made them wait 20 minutes before Arthur Fletcher himself appeared. He was elderly, white-haired, with the kind of grave dignity that suggested he'd kept many secrets over many years. "Miss Park." He shook her hand. "I've been expecting you for 28 years. Those words sent chills down Maya's spine. "You knew I'd come. Your father made me promise to wait. He said, she'll come when she's ready. When she's strong enough to handle the truth." Fletcher's eyes were kind but sad. "Let's go to my office. What I have to show you isn't easy." They followed him into a wood-paneled office overlooking the bay. Fletcher pulled out a locked file box, the key on a chain around his neck. Your father came to me 6 months before he died, Fletcher began. He was terrified. Said his family had found him, that they were threatening him, trying to force him to return to Korea without you or your mother. Maya's hands clenched. Who was threatening him? He named several people. His stepmother, your grandmother Park Soon-jae. His half-brother, Kang Jin-woo's father. Various corporate associates. Fletcher pulled out a stack of letters. These are threats. Explicit demands that he return to Korea and correct his mistake by divorcing your mother and disowning you. Min-jae's face had turned to stone as he read over Maya's shoulder. The letters were brutal, filled with racial slurs and cold financial calculations. The Park family didn't just want David back, they wanted to erase his American life entirely. There's more. Fletcher produced a cassette tape. 3 days before he died, your father came here and recorded this. He said if anything happened to him, you needed to hear it. He loaded the tape into an old player. Static hissed, then a voice Maya had only heard in her mother's stories filled the room. Maya, baby girl. If you're hearing this, then I'm gone, and I'm so sorry. Her father's voice was young, scared. I thought I could protect you and your mom by staying hidden, but they found us. They want me to come back to Korea, to sign documents giving up all claim to you. They say if I don't, they'll destroy your mother's career, get her deported, make sure you grow up with nothing. Maya's vision blurred with tears. Min-jae's arm came around her shoulders, steadying her. I can't let that happen. So I'm going back. I'm meeting them tonight to negotiate. I'm going to make them promise to leave you and Michelle alone. To set up a trust fund for your education. To at least give you something even if they won't give you family. A pause. I'm scared, baby. They're dangerous when cornered. But you're worth any risk. You and your mama, you're my whole world. If something happens, if this goes wrong, you need to know it wasn't an accident. And you need to know who. The tape ended abruptly. That's it, Maya's voice came out strangled. That's where it cuts off. Fletcher nodded grimly. I believe he was interrupted. The police found this tape in his car's glove compartment after the accident. They deemed it irrelevant since the accident appeared to be weather-related. But I was his lawyer. I knew what he was facing. And when I heard he'd died that same night, on his way to what he told me was a meeting with his family. It was murder, Maya whispered. Impossible to prove after all these years. But yes, in my professional opinion, your father was killed to prevent him from exposing something or negotiating protections for you. Min-jae had gone completely still beside her. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. The meeting. Where was he going? Fletcher consulted his notes. A warehouse in South San Francisco. Property owned by Park Empire Holdings. The implications were devastating. This wasn't just murder, it was premeditated. They'd lured David to a location they controlled, ensured his death would look accidental, and erased any evidence of their involvement. There's one more thing. Fletcher pulled out a legal document. Your father did manage to sign one paper before he died. A will, leaving everything to you. Including his shares in Park Empire Holdings. I have his signature, his intent, and my own testimony as witness. It's not as airtight as I'd like given the circumstances of his death, but it's legal. Maya took the document with shaking hands. Here was the proof Jin-woo claimed didn't exist. Proof that she was her father's acknowledged heir. But the victory felt hollow against the weight of confirmed murder. Who killed him? She asked Fletcher. The tape cuts off before he names anyone. I don't know. But I can tell you who called me 2 days after his death, offering me a substantial sum to destroy these files and forget I ever met David Park. Fletcher's expression hardened. Kang Jinwoo's father. The man who would have been your uncle. Min Jae made a strangled sound. Maya turned to him, seeing the devastation in his eyes. My father, he said hoarsely. My father killed yours. If you've made it this far in this story, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this family drama is about to reach levels you won't believe. Like this video if you're as shocked as we are about these revelations. And comment below, do you think Maya should expose the truth or protect Min Jae's feelings? Let me know your thoughts. The flight back to Seoul was silent agony. Min Jae sat rigid in his seat, staring at nothing. Maya wanted to comfort him but didn't know how. How do you comfort someone whose father murdered your father? They had the evidence now. Letters, recordings, legal documents. Enough to potentially bring criminal charges, definitely enough to secure Maya's inheritance and destroy Jinwoo's claim. But at what cost? I need to tell grandmother, Min Jae said as they descended toward Incheon. She deserves to know what her stepson did. She already knows. Maya's voice was flat. That's why she warned me. That's why she said the person responsible was someone she loved. She loved your father like a son. She probably protected him all these years. Then we expose her too. Min Jae's jaw set. Everyone who knew, everyone who covered it up, they all pay. But Maya saw the pain in his eyes, the conflict tearing him apart. He loved his grandmother. He'd spent his life grateful to her for taking him in, raising him. Now he was facing the reality that she might have protected his father's murderer. They went straight from the airport to the Park estate. It was late evening, but lights blazed in every window. As they approached, it became clear something was happening. Police cars lined the driveway. Min Jae's phone exploded with missed calls and messages. He listened to one voicemail, his face draining of color. It's grandmother, he said. She's had a massive stroke. She's at Seoul National Hospital. The universe had a cruel sense of timing. They raced to the hospital, finding the family gathered in a private waiting room. Jinwoo looked up as they entered, his expression venomous. Where the hell have you been? He snarled at Min Jae. Grandmother asked for you. Before the stroke, she kept saying your name. And you were off playing detective with your gold-digging girlfriend. Watch your mouth, Min Jae warned. Or what, you'll defend her honor? Jinwoo stood, getting in his half-brother's face. Everyone knows you're sleeping with her. Everyone knows you're thinking with your... Min Jae's fist connected with Jinwoo's jaw before Maya could even process the movement. Jinwoo stumbled back, shocked. Security guards rushed in, pulling the brothers apart. Enough. A doctor appeared, looking exhausted. Your grandmother is awake. She's asking for Maya Park. The room went silent. Jinwoo's expression turned murderous. That's impossible, he said. She's not family. She has no right. She asked for her specifically. The doctor looked uncomfortable. She's quite agitated. We need to let her see Miss Park, or we risk another stroke. Maya looked at Min Jae, who nodded. Together, they followed the doctor down the hall, leaving Jinwoo seething behind them. Madame Park looked tiny in the hospital bed, half her face drooping from the stroke. But her good eye fixed on Maya with desperate intensity. An oxygen mask covered her nose and mouth, but she pulled it aside with trembling fingers. Did you find it? Her words were slurred but understandable. The truth. Maya pulled out the legal documents, the letters. She set them on the bed where her grandmother could see. everything. Including who killed my father. Madam Park's good eye closed, tears leaking out. I knew. God forgive me, I knew. Grandmother, Min-jae said, anguish in his voice. Your father came to me. The old woman's words came in painful gasps. The night Dae-hyun died. Covered in rain, shaking. Said there'd been an accident. That Dae-hyun had lost control of the car during their argument. But I knew. I knew it was no accident. Why didn't you say anything? Maya demanded. Why did you protect him? Because I'd already lost one son. I couldn't bear to lose another, even if he was only my stepson. Madam Park's gaze found Maya's. And because Dae-hyun's death secured Jinwoo Sr.'s position in the company. The shares, the power, everything went to him with my blessing. I chose the company over justice. I chose my own comfort over your father's life. The confession hung in the air, devastating in its honesty. I searched for you, Madam Park continued. 4 years. Not to make amends, I knew I could never do that. But to make sure you had something. That you didn't suffer for my sins. She coughed, the oxygen mask going back on. When she pulled it off again, her words were barely whisper. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm sorry I chose wrong. I'm sorry I was a coward. I'm sorry. The machines around her began to beep frantically. Doctors rushed in, pushing Maya and Min-jae out of the room. Through the window, they watched as the medical team worked over Madam Park's failing body. She died at 11:47 p.m., with her grandsons outside the room and her newly found granddaughter still processing 30 years of buried truth. The funeral was 3 days later, a massive affair attended by Korea's elite. Maya stood at the edge of the ceremony, not quite family, not quite mourner. Min-jae had barely spoken to her since his grandmother's death, his grief and guilt building walls between them. After the burial, the family gathered for the reading of the will. Maya almost didn't attend, but Fletcher's legal documents had been authenticated, and as a shareholder, she was required to be present. The lawyer handling the estate was nervous as he read through Madam Park's bequests. Property, money, company shares distributed among the family. Then he reached the final clause. And to my newly found granddaughter, Maya Park, I leave my most sincere apologies and my personal holding of 15% of Park Empire Holdings stock. These shares, combined with her father's 40%, give Maya controlling interest in the company. It is my hope that she will lead with the integrity her father possessed and that I failed to show. The room erupted. Jinwoo was on his feet, screaming about legal challenges and fraud. Other family members shouted questions, accusations, threats. Security had to be called to restore order. In the chaos, Min-jae finally looked at Maya. She saw everything in his eyes: love, pain, guilt, resignation. Congratulations, he said quietly. You have everything now. The company, the truth, justice for your father. I don't have you, Maya replied. You can't. His voice broke. Don't you understand? My father killed yours. My family destroyed yours. How can there be an us when that's our foundation? Your father's sins aren't yours. But grandmother's are. She knew. She covered it up. And I loved her anyway. I mourned her. What does that make me? Human. Maya stepped closer. It makes you human. Love doesn't stop because people do terrible things. It's complicated and painful and it's not enough. Min-jae's control finally shattered. It's not enough to overcome this, Maya. You deserve better than the grandson of the woman who let your father die. You deserve a family that didn't destroy yours. Before Maya could argue, he was gone, disappearing into the crowd of mourners. She started to follow, but Jinwoo stepped into her path. Enjoy your victory, he said coldly. Because it won't last. I'll challenge every document, every claim. I'll tie you up in legal battles for decades. And even if you win, you'll never be family. You'll always be the outsider who stole what wasn't hers. I didn't steal anything. It was always mine. Maya met his glare without flinching. And Jinwoo, I have proof your father murdered mine. One word from me to the prosecutor's office, and the Park family name gets destroyed completely. So if I were you, I'd be very careful about starting legal wars you can't win. She walked away, leaving Jinwoo speechless for perhaps the first time in his life. The next weeks were a blur of legal meetings, paperwork, and corporate politics. Maya officially claimed her father's shares, becoming the largest single shareholder of Park Empire Holdings. The board had no choice but to recognize her position, though the hostility was palpable. She saw Min-jae at corporate meetings, but he kept his distance, professional and cold. It hurt more than any of Jinwoo's attacks, more than the whispers and stares from other family members. Maya threw herself into learning the business, determined to honor her father's memory. She discovered he'd had plans for the company before his death: expansions into international markets, diversity initiatives, worker protections. Dreams that had died with him. She began implementing them, one by one. With controlling interest, she could override Jinwoo's objections. She promoted from within, brought in outside expertise, and slowly began to change the Park Empire from a family fiefdom into something her father might have been proud of. But late at night, alone in her new apartment in Gangnam, Maya felt the weight of everything she'd lost. Her mother. Her father. Her grandmother, however complicated that relationship had been. And Min-jae, the man who'd become her ally, her friend, possibly something more, before family sins tore them apart. 3 months after the funeral, Maya was working late at the office when security called. Someone was asking to see her. Min-jae stood in the lobby, looking tired and uncertain. He'd lost weight, she noticed. The grief sat heavy on his shoulders. "Can we talk?" he asked. They went to her office. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Min-jae pulled out a folder. "I've been doing my own investigating," he said. "Into my father's death. He died of a heart attack when I was 10, or so I was told." He opened the folder, showing her medical records, investigation reports. But he was healthy. Athletic. Only 43 years old. And he died 2 months after your father's accident. Maya's breath caught. "You think?" "I think grandmother couldn't live with what happened. I think she might have." He couldn't finish the sentence. "I don't have proof. But the timing, the circumstances, it all feels wrong." "Min-jae, what are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe grandmother didn't just protect a murderer. Maybe she exacted her own justice in the end." He looked at Maya with hollow eyes. "Maybe she killed my father for what he did to yours." The revelation was staggering. If true, it meant Madame Park had spent 30 years living with the guilt of 2 deaths: her sons and her stepsons. A murder and a revenge killing, all buried under corporate respectability. "Why are you telling me this?" Maya asked softly. "Because you deserve the whole truth. Even the parts that make my family look even worse." Min-jae's hands shook as he closed the folder. "And because I've been a coward. I let guilt and shame push you away when you needed support. When we needed each other." He stepped closer, and Maya's heart hammered. I love you, Min-jae said simply. I fell in love with you the night you put that photograph on the table and turned my world upside down. I love your courage, your integrity, your refusal to back down. And I've been miserable every day since I walked away. Your father killed mine, Maya whispered, even as hope bloomed in her chest. I know. And my grandmother covered it up and possibly killed him in return. Our family history is a nightmare. He took her hands. But we didn't create that nightmare. We're just trying to survive it. And I think we have a better chance of surviving together than apart. Maya wanted to say yes. Every part of her wanted to fall into his arms and forget the complications. But she'd built walls of her own over these months. I have something to tell you too, she said. I went to the prosecutor's office last week. Gave them everything, the letters, the recordings, Fletcher's testimony. Min-jae went pale. You're pressing charges. They said the statute of limitations has expired for murder. Even if we had ironclad proof, which we don't, too much time has passed. Maya's voice hardened. Your father got away with it. Legally, at least. Then why tell the prosecutors? Because they're opening an investigation into corporate fraud, tax evasion, and illegal business practices during your father's tenure. Things I found buried in the company records. She met his eyes. I'm going to dismantle every corrupt piece of the empire he built. Not for revenge, but because it's right. Can you live with that? Min-jae was quiet for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he smiled. My father was a bastard in business too. If you're cleaning house, I want to help. Even if it damages the family reputation. Especially then. Because maybe it's time the Park family had a reputation worth protecting. He pulled her closer. I meant what I said, Maya. I love you. I want to build something new with you, something that honors the people we lost and doesn't repeat their mistakes. Maya let herself lean into him, feeling the rightness of it despite everything. It won't be easy. Jinwoo will fight us every step. Other family members will too. Let them fight. Min-jae's arms tightened around her. We have each other and the truth. That's more than enough. Their first kiss tasted of tears and hope, grief and possibility. Outside the office windows, Seoul glittered, a city of millions all carrying their own complicated histories. Maya and Min-jae were just two more souls trying to build something good from broken pieces. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There were no easy answers, no villains neatly defeated, no guarantee of happiness. But as they held each other in that quiet office, they both felt something their families had lacked for generations. They felt hope. The next board meeting was memorable. Maya and Min-jae arrived together, a united front that sent whispers through the room. Jinwoo's face went through several shades of purple as they took their seats side by side. Before we begin, Maya announced, I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, Min-jae and I are together. Yes, we're working together to implement changes in this company. And no, we're not asking for anyone's approval. This is inappropriate, Jinwoo sputtered. The conflict of interest alone. There's no conflict, Min-jae interrupted. We both want the same thing, a company that operates ethically, treats its employees fairly, and honors the vision my uncle Dae-hyun had before his life was cut short. The pointed reference to David Park's death and the implied accusation behind it silenced the room. Over the following months, Maya and Min-jae worked tirelessly. They uncovered decades of shady dealings, paid restitution to wronged workers, and restructured the company from the ground up. Jinwoo fought them at every turn, but controlling interest meant Maya could override him. Eventually, Jinwoo's own corrupt dealings came to light: embezzlement, insider trading, bribery. The prosecutor's investigation Maya had initiated widened to include him. He was arrested during a board meeting, dragged out in handcuffs while news cameras captured every moment. The Park Empire's reputation took a hit, but it survived. Under Maya's leadership, the company became known for integrity rather than ruthlessness. Her father would have been proud. 1 year after that first shocking revelation at the restaurant, Maya stood in the private garden of the Park estate. It was hers now, legally. She'd sold most of the property but kept the garden, the one place her grandmother had maintained a memorial to David Park. A small stone bench with his name carved in Korean and English. Min-jae found her there, as he often did. They'd moved in together months ago, scandalizing the remaining traditional family members and delighting the younger generation. "I have something for you," he said, pulling out a small box. Maya's heart skipped. "Min-jae? It's not what you think." "Well, it is, but not yet." He opened the box, revealing not a ring but a key. "It's to a storage unit in San Francisco," Fletcher called. "Apparently your father had one more secret." They flew out the next week, both nervous and excited. The storage unit was small, climate-controlled, and packed with boxes. Photos, letters, home videos, and entire documented life that David Park had left behind. They spent 3 days going through everything. Maya laughed and cried watching videos of her young parents, so obviously in love. She found her father's journals, detailing his dreams for her future, his plans to reconcile with his family once Maya was old enough to protect herself. On the last day, they found a sealed letter addressed to my daughter, on her wedding day. Maya's hands shook as she opened it. Min-jae read over her shoulder. "My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, it means several things have happened. You've grown up, found love, and somehow discovered the truth about my family and our past. I hope the journey wasn't too painful. I want you to know that despite everything, the rejection, the struggles, the fear, I never regretted choosing your mother and you. You were worth every hardship. You made every sacrifice meaningful. I hope you found a love like I had with your mother. Someone who sees you, all of you, and chooses you anyway. Someone who makes you braver, kinder, more yourself. I hope you've taken your place in the Park family, not because of inheritance or obligation, but because you chose to. I hope you've changed things, made them better. You have the strength to do what I couldn't. And most of all, I hope you've forgiven. Not for their sake, but for yours. Holding on to anger only hurts the person carrying it. Let it go, baby girl. Build something new. Love always, Dad." Maya folded the letter carefully, tears streaming down her face. Min-jae held her, his own eyes wet. "He would have liked you," Maya said finally. "My father. He would have seen what I see, someone trying to be better than his family's legacy." "Our family's legacy now," Min-jae corrected. "For better or worse, we're building this together." And they did. Over the years that followed, Maya and Min-jae transformed Park Empire Holdings into something revolutionary. They implemented profit sharing for employees, created scholarship programs for underprivileged students, and partnered with organizations fighting racial discrimination in Korea's corporate world. They married quietly in San Francisco, at the courthouse where her parents had wed 30 years earlier. No family drama, no corporate politics, just two people choosing each other against all odds. But the story wasn't quite finished. 2 years into their marriage, Maya received a letter from a lawyer in Busan. It seemed she wasn't Park Dae-hyun's only child. Her father had had a brief relationship before meeting her mother, and that woman had given birth to a son. A son who was now 30 years old and had just discovered his father's identity. A son who had his own claim to the Park Empire fortune. Myo looked at the lawyer's letter, then at Min-jae across their breakfast table. He'd read it too, and now they stared at each other, the implications sinking in. Well, Min-jae said finally, a rueful smile crossing his face. I guess we're not done with family secrets after all. Guess not. Maya thought about her father's words about forgiveness, about building something new. Should we meet him? Of course we should. Min-jae came around the table, pulling her close. Another Park joining the chaos. What's one more complication? They laughed, because what else could they do? Family was messy, complicated, sometimes painful. But it was also where you found your people, your purpose, your place in the world. Myo had started this journey alone, seeking answers about a father she'd never known. She'd found those answers, but also so much more. A grandmother's regret. An uncle's villainy. A lover's devotion. And now, possibly, a brother. The Park family saga was far from over. But for the first time in generations, it was being written with honesty, integrity, and love. And that, Maya thought as Min-jae kissed her forehead, was a legacy worth building. If you made it all the way to the end of this incredible journey, you absolutely need to subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because Maya's story isn't over. There's a brother we haven't met yet, and trust me, the drama is about to reach a whole new level in part 2. Smash that like button if you loved this story of family secrets, forbidden love, and finding your place in the world. And let me know where you are watching this from in the comments below.